Okay. I'm not so sure about this one, to be honest with you. Now, I do know that Ferraris of the 80s, they used to have pretty boxy shapes, and that was just part of the era back in the day. But they also still had nice fluidity to it. I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about when we compare the old Testarossa, which was a pretty boxy design, but it still had nice, beautiful line flow in it. This one, the new 849 Testarossa 2026 model year, this one, I'm starting Ferrari now, is starting to move into Lamborghini territory when it comes to the design. And I don't think that is what I want to see from Ferrari moving forward. I want to see the... Honestly, the Pininfarina era was just one of my favorite eras of Ferrari design, because that has the fluidity without the wings. It has the performance without the added park benches and stuff like that in the back, fins in the front end and in the side skirt and all of that. And it still performed, those cars still performed beautifully, obviously. Great performance vehicles. While if you look at the Lamborghinis, they have this style to shout and scream about their designs a little bit more, which is totally fine. I love Lamborghini's designs as well. But they're two completely different philosophies that now seems to melt into one. And that is not what I want to see from Ferrari. I want to see more fluidness from this design, for sure, from Ferrari moving forward. And I'm going to show you, compare this to the old, beautiful, one of the all-time greats when it comes to Ferrari, the 458 Italia. That is a garage turntable car. You could go down, have your morning coffee, sip on it, sit down in your garage, have the 458 on a turntable, and you could analyze, you can appreciate all the lines for hours. That is how beautiful of a design the 458 Italia is. And I don't feel like I could say the same with the 549 Testarossa down here. It's a cool looking car. Don't get me wrong. It looks cool, but does it look Ferrari? That is where my problem comes in. There are a couple of things here that Ferrari is doing recently, specifically to the greenhouse, that I want to see them move back to the old style of greenhouse. We're going to talk more about that as well in a minute. Learn design sketching online with me. My online class is now only $47. If you have any desire to pick up the skill of sketching products using simple tools, this is something you want to check out. Now, over the years, I've taught over thousands of students from all around the world how to sketch cars and products using my simple sketching techniques, and most of them have seen amazing results from my classes. Analog Designer Pro Pack is the full bundle of all my classes I've released over the years, and it's yours for just $47. You also have a lifetime access to all the videos. Check out everything that's included and see what my students have to say in the link in the description, or simply visit analogdesignerpropack.com. First of all, let's have a look at this article. What is this new car? What's going on here with Ferrari? Car Scoop article linked down below as always. Ferrari's Testarossa returns, and this time it brought electricity and violence. We'll see. We talked about this yesterday, I do believe. You know, hybrids might depreciate significantly the first year, like the SF90 has done. I mean, the SF90 depreciation has been pretty significant to say the least. So we'll see if this follows the same trend, or if people are starting to accept supercar or hypercars even. Hybrid. So the 849 Testarossa revives the iconic badge with a twin-turbo V8, 3 e-motors, and 15.5 miles of EV range. Not the greatest EV range, but do you think anybody who buys this cares about EV range? I don't. It replaces the SF90 with 1,035 horsepower hybrid V8 and triple electric motors. Aero upgrades generate 915 pounds of downforce at 155 miles per hour. That is insane numbers, and I do understand why they put wings and stuff on this if you want to achieve these numbers. Not sure what the old 458 did in downforce, but probably not close to 1,000 pounds of downforce at just 155 miles per hour. You got active aero aids as well, available as a coupe or a spider. You also have the Assetto Fiorano package if you want to get that. Ferrari's newly unveiled plug-in hybrid flagship is what this is. This new car is very similar to the SF90, but heavily updated both inside and out. The engine gets new cylinder heads, exhaust manifolds, and turbos. The combustion engine alone makes 819 horsepower, and that gets me thinking, would it be maybe better for Ferrari to just keep this as a pure V8 combustion engine, turbo engine with 819 horsepower? Because I feel like 819 horsepower is maybe enough. And on top of that, if you remove the e-motors, you're going to save some weight anyway. But maybe it's regulations or something that's happening behind the scenes that says the Ferrari needs to be hybrids moving forward. I have no idea. Two of those motors sit on the front axles, the e-motors. The third one sitting between the engine and the gearbox. It will only be powered the front wheels in EV modes and limited to 80 miles per hour, so you can still take it as an EV on the highway. If you want to drive your Testarossa on the highway 80 miles per hour as an EV, you can do that, but only for 15 miles, and then it runs out of gas or juice. 0 to 62 takes 2.2 seconds. I mean, what type of tires are on this vehicle to be able to plant this car that properly and send it off in 2.2 seconds? 0 to 200 kilometers per hour, or 0 to 124 miles per hour, 6.3 seconds. What kind of speeds do we have right now in 2026? These are just nuts. Top speed north of 205 miles per hour. You got an 8-speed dual clutch F1 gearbox as standard. And here we can see the Spider version of this, which let me see. We don't have a side view for the Spider. Come on, I want to see the side view of this, the most important view. Why do we have two front views and no side view? Very strange. I think maybe this looks better than the coupe version because this removes some of the greenhouse issues that I have with Ferraris. I think they introduced it in the 296 GTB was the first Ferrari with that type of greenhouse. That you can see here that it feels like it's going inside the body, and we have this chamfer here. It's not a smooth transition into the lower section or back section right here. It has this cut right here, or maybe this little shelf going up here. We're going to talk more about that in Photoshop in a minute. Very, very interesting design. So it's not because we are taking inspiration from old designs. We don't want to just look at the past, says Ferrari's chief marketing and commercial officer. The name Testarossa, meaning redhead in Italian, came originally from the cover of the engine of the most powerful model in the range. And here we have the coupe design. Just going to scroll through this real quick before we jump into Photoshop and dissect this design. The front end actually looks very, very cool. But again, does it look Ferrari to me? The classic Ferrari that I'm used to seeing from, the design of Ferraris, it just doesn't. So the 849 Testarossa bears almost no resemblance to the original. I'm going to show you that as well. Compare the two. Blended cues from the 1970s sports prototypes and aeronautics with sharp geometric lines. Now, sharp geometric lines, to me, those words they have just never been connected in my mind to Ferrari. Sharp geometric lines. I never thought Ferrari would go down that route with the design DNA, but those are the type of graphics we see more recently with the F80 as well. The F80 looked like almost like a combination of the F40, boxy, and the Enzo a little bit, not the Enzo, but the LaFerrari. So I understood that design, but this one makes less sense to me, if that makes sense. So SF90 and the SP3 Daytona, mix of those designs, but with a bit more retro chucked into the mix. The nose of the car gets a restyling from the 1980s era Ferraris with a bridge-like horizontal design connecting the headlights. You can see the interior as well. The interior is absolutely beautiful. I really like what's going on here. And thankfully, they also reintroduced physical buttons on the steering wheel instead of those touch buttons that Ferrari customers were really sick of. They said, you better fix this. Ferrari did, obviously. And now we have physical buttons on the steering wheel. Great to see that. You have digital screens in the gauge cluster. You also have a small digital screen for the passenger there as well. And you can get a set of several new wheel designs. Fantastic. I always wanted to see, as you know, less black wheels, more options for the wheel designs. I probably honestly will go with these that we have right here on this Assetto Fiorano package. 5-spoke, simple design. These look to be black, though. I would want to have them be in silver instead of black. But the wheel design overall I think it looks very, very cool. Just simple 5-spoke designs. You can't go wrong with that. So the Assetto Fiorano loses 30 kilos, 66 pounds in weight savings. You got unique liveries, and of course, a bespoke interior options. Pricing for this probably north of $470,000. Deliveries scheduled to begin next year. With that said, let's jump into Photoshop here. Have a look at this design. What's going on with this 549 Testarossa? Compare it to one of the. I mean, I don't know if anybody can argue that this is one of the most beautiful Ferraris of all time. The 458 Italia. I remember when it came out in 2010. I do believe I was a student in Italy studying car design. And this came out, and I was just blown away by how beautiful this design was. This is what Ferrari is to me. And if you compare this styling to, for example, Lamborghini, which has a lot more, aggressive design, Ferrari has always been the graceful of the two. Just, it doesn't have to shout about what it is. It's confident. It's not. It's like the wiser older brother. The Lamborghini is the wild, young brother that has a lot of energy, always running around shouting, while the Ferrari is still more same type of energy, but it's retained in a more sophisticated package. That is what the 458 Italia always was to me. Such a beautiful, beautiful looking design, designed by Pininfarina, of course. Looking at the new one down here, the Testarossa. The thing about this is, yes, it does have cues from the 80s with the very boxy front end, and I can see where they want to go with this, but I think they lost too much of the emotion that we need to see in Ferraris going for these boxy designs. Specifically, that shows in the side view, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and then these front headlights with these parallel lines. There are too many parallel lines for my taste for a Ferrari in this design. We have these parallel lines right here in the front end, parallel lines here in the lower section as well, and it just brings out a staticness that I'm not used to seeing from Ferrari. It does have a very unique front end. I have never seen anything like this before. I'm not sure if this is actually a daytime running light or if this is a white patch on there. It's probably the daytime running light. You have the headlight unit here, and look at how sharp every corner is in the headlight unit. It's starting to look way more robotic to me, and less fluid, unless it doesn't look like a living organism anymore, like the 458 Italia. It looks like it looks like an animal with the curvatures. Now look at the side view of the 458. Every single thing on the 458, every single thing has a radius to it. Every line is a corner, at least in some ways. We have some sort of a straight line here, but it dips down in a beautiful radius into this line right here. We have this extremely interesting shoulder line, and look at how this line goes in. And then, does it have a connection to the front end? Yes, it does. If you want to study a line flow, study the 458 Italia. I mean, you can draw all these lines. They all have a connection with something going on in the rest of the bodywork, and everything is a curvature, looking like a living organism. Because in humans, in nature, we almost never ever see parallel lines, perfectly straight lines. It just does not exist in nature, and that is why the 458 and designs like these, when you have curvatures across the entire bodywork, it starts to make it feel like it is actually a living thing, this thing, the 458 Italia. I love the wheels as well, of course, 5-spoke wheels, and the greenhouse design of this. Going down, beautifully done, going into this sort of shoulder in the back, looking very nice. Looking at the new one right here, the Testarossa, you can see just how much more static it got. And the reason why I think this could work still, but it feels like they went too far with this straight geometric design, as I said in the article. For example, this shoulder line right here, one straight line into the rear end. And on top of that, we have parallel lines in one of the key areas of the car that I just do not, it doesn't matter what brand it is, I cannot see parallel lines in this area right here. It's such a key focal point. And on top of that, this is also parallel on the top and the bottom. And in addition, we have this bodywork going up like this. So this looks to me like a ribbon that is tightening around the waist of the car, just pulling in like it's if we remove this, it looks like this bodywork is supposed to be flat here, but this just pulls this up in with some tension there. It adds some interesting details to look at and to analyze, because for me that is what I see. Some other people might see, you know, different things when they look at this design, but it does have some connection to the front end design, which I appreciate. I like to see that. And we have this curvature right here, as you can see over the front axle. That is what I wanted to see in the shoulder line, to have some sort of curvature. We do have a curvature up here going into these wings in the back end, which looks pretty cool to me. But again, it's intruding a lot on Lamborghini right now, these type of design languages. We have this line going up, doesn't really have a connection to nothing that I can see right there, and we have a carved out portion subtle in the lower section right here to create a much more athletic looking design. But what I wanted to say about the greenhouse that was introduced with the 296 GTB is this feature here, that it's blacked out. First of all, I want to see this being body color on a Ferrari. It just feels right to me to have everything be red or whatever body color it is. And then it also has a small chamfer up top here. I don't know, you can barely see it, but there is a small chamfer here. So the bodywork goes up above the greenhouse, meaning that it looks like the greenhouse is not really a part of an integral part of the bodywork itself, like it was on the pretty much all the Pininfarina designed cars, and before the 296 GTB, all of them had this different integration. This looks more like a Lotus integration to me. This is what I would expect to see from Lotus, to have this type of integration of the greenhouse. The wheel design looks pretty cool with these turbine-like wheels, and we also have this black graphic in the lower section, just adding features to the car. Of course, if you want to keep improving the performances of your vehicles, you need to start thinking about, maybe more. I think maybe the reason why they look more boxy and a little bit more busy these days is because they need to push the performance numbers so hard that they need to introduce the engineers in a new way, in a much more involved way when it comes to the exterior designs of the car, to make them perform like they want, like the company want the car to perform. And I don't know if that's the case, but that might affect the overall design, the aesthetics of the car. Because just look at the difference between these two, how clean the 458 is compared to the new Testarossa. Looking at the rear end, we do have, of course, the 458 up top. Still, again, stunning looking design, specifically the 458 Speciale, where you have this little thing that goes in the middle right here and creating these beautiful chamfers on there. That is one detail I always wanted to go and touch on the 458 Speciale. We don't have it on the regular one, but we do have curvatures everywhere. This is a little bit too sharp for me. Again, I would like to see a curvature here for the 458. Triple exhaust pipes in the lower section, dual exhaust pipes on the new one. And it's a very, very cool looking design. It's just not what I was expecting the direction of Ferrari to take. Then we have the big carbon fiber diffuser and bumper down here. Glad to see that we have a proper bumper. The diffuser doesn't actually look too aggressive. It's just this big panel down here. We don't really have any fins. We have active aero, of course, in the lower section. And we have this muscle going over the rear axle, which actually looks pretty beautiful from this angle, and this very straight shoulder line cutting in to the rear end. Now, last but not least, before I look at the original Testarossa, we have the interiors. The interior looked great to me. I really like what's going on here. We have the housing for it, obviously. Carbon fiber steering wheel and this new gear selector that looks to be a miniature, 6-speed manual. We didn't have a manual in the 458. If we did that, I don't know the values of that. If that car today, if we had a 458 Italian manual from factory, that car would probably be a $1.5 million car today. The interior here looked a little busy to me because this did not have a clear connection to what was going on in the exterior design. This looked way busier, while the exterior had this subtle feel to it. Last but not least, quickly want to show you this, because this is what I'm talking about. Even the old Testarossa, it has a boxy design to it, but it still had a lot of fluidity and curvatures to it all over the body. even though the front end is very boxy, it still felt pretty organic to me. And that is, these lines, these key lines are something that I think is missing in the new Testarossa. Even though it is a cool looking car, it's just an interesting design language or design DNA for Ferrari to move forward with. And I want to see how they take this across the entire lineup. They basically already have, but how this is going to evolve. Is it going to get even more boxy, or are they going to go back to more organic shapes?